Hello and welcome to this blog on the Unified User Experience. Today we're talking about how and when to use process automation. So what are the factors that lead to using more process automation in an organization? And how can management trust an automated process or multiple automated processes to keep systems in balance? When you approach the topic of process automation, the heads of management might feel their eyes glaze over, right? I mean, with all the potential for automated tasks, there seem to be too many options. And the most common ask is about choosing the right one. Thus, the decision team sits down to review what could or should be automated. Their primary concern is the end result and the time it takes to get there. Although process automation is a wonderful tool to have, when used in proper doses, it can become a cluster of complexity, festering more issues than it was meant to solve. So how does a company choose whether a process should be automated or not? In my experience, these are the determining factors. Can the process be executed using templates and triggered actions? Is the item recurring frequently enough to warrant greater action, automated action? For example, if it occurs more than 1% of the time, then it's automation worthy, right? As the company grows, how much labor force will be added to band-aid this one issue if it's not automated? And what are the projected cost savings if the task was automated as outlined by management? Do you want to consult with an automation expert to get a clearer picture of the impact that automation might have on your contact center or back office agent tasks? And can the automation work in concert with your agents and employees? For example, does the automated cadence hand off to the employee and then take over once the employee is done? So let's take a look at the automation engine within Ivenix. We've stated the problem, we've stated the qualifying factors, but let's really look at what a strong system can do, right? First off, there was the mention of templates. And here within Ivenix, we do have the ability to execute single or multiple templates very easily. And this can be, it could be messages going out to the customer, or it could be notifications internally to employees, either pop-up notifications or text or email notifications. So there's a lot that can happen with a single action. And you can see that with each node, multiple templates can be triggered, right? Secondly, everything is triggered based on business logic. So if an agent or an employee updates something into a certain status, that can trigger a series of automated tasks. And so if we talk about an RMA and we say, let's examine, these factors and look at an RMA process, what are the three steps that an RMA has? First, an employee is going to mark, they're going to mark an order as an RMA or a ticket as an RMA, which triggers the return process, right? And then 3 tickets are going to be assigned. The first ticket is assigned to the person responsible for getting back the returned item. The second ticket is going to be for the person responsible for verifying that the item has been returned, probably someone that works in the warehouse. And then the third ticket is going to be for someone who has looked at what the warehouse has done, and then they're going to mark the accounting system and close out the RMA from an accounting standpoint. That would be the ideal function, is that you have 3 people in a watchdog scenario, so that if one person fails to do their job, the other 2 people still have tickets assigned, and they can escalate that. Now the system, the system can do escalations on its own. It can do escalations and notifications, bullseye routing, things of that nature. But in this process, for a good procedure, you're going to want all parties involved to be personally responsible for a ticket. So let's say, first example, the notification goes out to the customer. hey, we've received your request for a return. The agent, employee has marked that return as active. And then the second item is going to be, now we're going to assign 3 tickets. Boom, boom, boom. 3 tickets just from that single update. And now each ticket is going to run in concert with the return merchandise, basically the packaging. If we're sending out packaging for the customer to return that, or if we're sending out a label, maybe the customer already has the label or instructions, whatever the case may be. So the customer gets their instructions. They're going to print and put the return label on the existing packaging. They're going to ship that back. We're going to receive a notification from the shipper that that is in transit. Then there's a ticket assignment for the warehouse person to watch for that item to come back in stock. And then once that is either now bear in mind, this Ivenix is not a barcoding system. It's a screen routing technology. It's a CRM. It's a data hub. It's a lot of things, but it is not a data warehousing system in terms of data inventory or barcode scanning. Now we can integrate with a barcode scanning system through our API, and we can interface. So there would be a scenario where if we integrated with a barcode scanning solution and the employee received that RMA, they would scan it, and then Ivenix would receive it from your barcode system as soon as it synchronized the data, which it synchronizes the data pretty much in real time, 10 minutes at the most, right? So whatever the trigger may be, if the person at the warehouse receives the item, they could even close out the ticket with Ivenix using a simple text message from their phone, right? They could actually log into Ivenix from their phone and close out a ticket if that's what was wanted, whatever's going to be the most streamlined. But ideally, they would just send a text message, and Ivenix would ask them 1 or 2 simple questions, and they would close out that ticket with text messages from their mobile device. Again, the barcoding solution, we all know that that's going to be more efficient. That's an option as well. But again, Ivenix is not, out of the gate, it's not a barcoding solution of its on its own standing. It does have to integrate with another barcoding solution. Same thing with accounting. Ivenix is not an accounting platform. It does need to integrate with an accounting platform. However, it can use that data for many, many thousands of operations. So getting back to our use case, the great thing about this system is that the agent is working in concert with the process automation. So the agent completes a step, then the system completes a step, and then another agent completes a step in the interdepartmental routing, and then the system completes a step. If the agent doesn't complete a step, then the system does a notification or escalation. So, basically with that, you're getting the best of all worlds in terms of an engine that is going to keep track of all the steps, and it's going to keep track of whether the steps have been missed or not, because within a certain period of time, it's going to start notifying people, hey, this RMA has gotten too old. And that's where you see these loop processes where Ivenix is going to check and say, you know what, this RMA has been open for too many days based on standard shipping times. We are not achieving our standard SLA with this, so someone needs to take a look at it. So that would be escalated to management, and with management, they would be able to see a Kanban of RMAs, and they might look like these tickets, similar to these ticket situation, where management could actually look at the Kanban and say, okay, this RMA is it's still in a new status. Somebody hasn't touched it. I'm going to move this RMA into an escalated status just by dragging it over. And so the beauty of that is that management is now working in concert with the automation engine, right? With the Cadence engine. So management has triggered by dragging that over and changing the status, management has triggered a different cadence. And now the cadence is going to escalate, and it's going to push that to an individual or to a group who is responsible for those escalations. And then the person responsible for the escalations, again, the actions are all going to be triggered here. The notifications will be triggered here. However, the person who is getting that escalation can visualize on a dashboard how many items are escalated. Let's say that, right now, today we have 0 escalations. In the past month, we've had 45 or 50 escalations resolved. So if I wanted to drill down into those escalations that have been resolved, I could do that. Now I could see total escalations. I could see escalations by user, which agents do we have escalations on? Because that agent maybe they dropped the ball, or maybe they just asked for help. Who knows what the scenario may be. So there's a lot of different ways to look at the data in the system. We can see, the interactions that have come through. We can see every interaction that has gone through with the client. We can measure how many RMAs you have, how many RMAs are outstanding, how many RMAs are escalated, and in real time, what has been done or who is assigned. All of those are options because, again, these dashboards, these KPI dashboards, are configurable. They're drag and drop. They're very easy to set in place and to get rolling. So that's all possible within the system. You have the ability to assign work, which is part of a standard RMA, assign responsibility, follow up on responsibility, and escalate if necessary. So you've got a very robust system that's not going to miss the mark. If someone happens to be out with the flu, that's not going to break things because you have multiple people assigned. You have multiple stakeholders in this individual case, and each person is going to be responsible for their part, and each person is going to push for that to get resolved because they want their stats to look good. And management can very easily see your stats, which is another great motivator. However, the system, if management, let's say the management was on vacation, right? So management was on vacation for 2 weeks. The system can actually notify the employee, hey, you have an RMA outstanding, the same way that management would. So not only can the system act in concert with the employee, but it can also act on behalf of management if management has not had time to take action. So those are the things that you're looking for in a successful automation engine. And there are those folks who fear that something can be too complex, and their fear is it's well placed, right? It's not a good idea to make something too complex. That's why the Ivenix engine just uses business logic. We click a filter and we're just using and or logic. Simple business intelligence. And we have groups within groups of and or logic. So you see you've got this nested and or logic. So it could be if the date range is between this and this, and the status is this, but not this, then show me those results. Or then I want an escalation, or whatever the action is that you want to take. I want to send out an email or a text message. Everything in the system is based on simple business intelligence. So if you can do logic in your mind and walk through a process in your mind, you can build it in reality. The other great thing about this system is I can clone an entire track of actions. So if I hit copy, the system is going to copy this entire build with all of the actions and all the filters. And then each automation is assigned to the trigger individually. So you can do testing on your different scenarios, on your different automation scenarios. You could create 10 different automation scenarios. You could create variations of them, and then you could trigger them at different times. So not only can you create automation scenarios for testing, but you can also create automation scenarios for different times of the year, different seasons, different departments. There are a lot of reasons why you would create different automation engines. So that's what this is. What you're looking at is a long-term process automation engine. Now, every process automation has a trigger, and every process automation has a terminator. So the termination factor, there can be multiple termination factors, just as there can be multiple triggers, right? Each one of these line breaks is a trigger, but also each one of these line breaks can have a terminator in them as well. So there's a checks and balances, a red light, green light, if you will. The green light says, if it's in the status, go forward. But the red light says, if it's in the status and it is also part of this portfolio, do not go forward. Okay, so it's going to, the red light is going to exclude anything that is part of that portfolio. So in situations where you're servicing multiple clients, or in situations where you have multiple product lines, multiple business product lines, if we're going back to the RMA, and the return process is different for certain lines, you might say, if it's this product line, go forward with this step. But if it's this product line, do not go forward with this step. Just skip to the next step. So that's all possible. There's a lot of filtering and a lot of customization possible within each node, within each nuance. And then the templates as well can be triggered based on the scenario. So if it's a simple return, you would get one message, to the customer. If it is a return and replace, then the message is going to indicate return and replace to the customer, most likely the new order information, the old order information, and the statuses of each. And then perhaps, even some links to check on those. If we needed to interface with the public website and update those, we could. So anyways, what are the benefits to this automation, right? 3 people are assigned child tickets in this use case. There's a very low margin of human error. Each department is depending on the other. The platform can notify them that tickets are still outstanding. So your stakeholders are basically accountable. They're accountable right out of the gate. Number 2, when the employee selects and confirms the RMA process, they've just kicked off maybe 20 or more steps with a single click. So all those steps, everything involved with making sure that RMA goes smoothly, that the customer is happy, that you're happy as a business, that all the boxes are checked properly. That's all kicked off with a single click. Whereas, again, it was ambiguous in the past, and that might not be anywhere near as effective. Management will also have the capability to see RMAs in queue, and we covered that here. Management being able to see RMAs in queue, and management being able to drag and drop RMAs to manipulate their position in the queue. So management would have control just by dragging something over to change the cadence or to change the automation and what's happening with that particular RMA. And of course, management has control of the cadence itself. So management could make adjustments there anytime that they want. Preferably, after business hours, but the system is capable of doing changes, in live production. Then item number 4, since everything in the automation engine is templated, the customer is going to receive the right messages regardless of the situation. So you're going to get the right messages for the right situation, just like in the UUE. You're going to see the right data on the right screen at the right time. The customer is going to get the right messages for the right scenario at the right time. And then number 5, all the agent or employee choices dictate how the automation runs, and each automation action can be altered as the business needs them to adapt. So again, going back to the fact that we're not a big fan, at Ivenix, we're not a big fan of the current state of machine learning, because we feel that, they're trying to replace a human being with machine learning, and machine learning is just nowhere near as intelligent as a human being. So rather than doing that, you take your business intelligence architecture, and you have the business intelligence work in concert with the human being. So the automation works in concert with your agents and your employees, and therefore they, the employees like it because they don't feel like they're being replaced or someone trying to replace them with some super robot that that learns pretty much at the level of a 1-year-old toddler or a 2-year-old toddler, I should say. That can be very frustrating. And if you've ever worked with an AI chatbot for a period of time, you know what I'm talking about. So you still have that human experience, which is really what drives business. But the human experience is working in concert with business intelligence. So it's like you've made your agents or your employees superhuman. So now that we've illustrated the processes, how things can get better, what if the automation was too complex? We talked a little bit about that. And I'll tell you, from personal research on machine learning, the reason why we're not a big fan of it. There was an experiment that they did recently where they took machine learning and they wanted the machine learning to design a car that would win a race as quickly as possible, right? And they just gave it as many options as it wanted to design the car. So they just want to see how intelligent is this machine learning? What kind of a car is it going to design? So the machine learning robot had to complete a race that was 1 kilometer, and it just had to design a car to win that race very quickly. So the machine learning designed a car that was 1 kilometer tall, right? Imagine a car that's 1 kilometer tall, and then the machine learning algorithm just tipped the car over. And so the car fell down 1 kilometer, crashed into the ground, and it won the race. The design of the car being 1 kilometer tall, falling over and crashing into the ground, that was the machine learning robot's idea of success, because those were the parameters presented to it. There's just too many things that a human being knows intuitively. And human beings, get underrated in a lot of respects, but, human beings are capable of over, 2 million floating point operations per second, just when they're walking. And, a machine, it takes a very, very, very long time. And, I'm sure the technology will get there, but today it just makes a lot more sense to use business intelligence. So we think of it as Ivenix is it's the chainsaw, and you still need a good employee to wield the chainsaw. So let's, if the goal is to cut down trees, and currently your employees are using axes, let's take away the axes, let's take away the slow, cumbersome procedures, and let's give them chainsaws so that they can operate, fundamentally with accuracy, so that they can get things done much quicker. And when you look at the cost comparison, yes, the chainsaw is more expensive than the axe, but the employee is much more expensive than the chainsaw. So if the employee is, 2 or 3 times more effective, what does that mean for the money that you're investing in the employee? That's the focus you want to have. How much are we investing in these human resources, and what are we getting out of them? If we provide them better tools, then they're going to give us better results. So anyways, you can see this blog post on our website. Feel free to visit us at www.ivinix.com. Again, that's www.ivinix.com. I want to thank you so much for your time today. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out to sales@ivinix.com. Again, reach out to sales@ivinix.com. We'll have a great time. We'll take really good care of you. All right. Thank you. Bye.